I mean, let's just start with Conquest. Let's start talking about some Conquest changes.
In
Got a
general,
couple of camps changing
50%.
around, starting with red buff.
Yeah,
with some
so
exceptions
11.1 was a huge update. I mean,
It was huge.
It was
counting
giant.
it was very, very big. A lot of stuff went into it. And one
How
of the
many
things
legacy
that
gems am
really
I at?
made a big impact going into this update
Hundreds of
was the
thousands.
change to class passes.
Maybe a
which
million.
got
Maybe a
removed.
million legacy
So
gems.
one of the biggest things for mages specifically in relation to the red buff, because that's typically where they end up,
Yeah.
is that they had a much harder time clearing the red buff because they were missing a bunch of power. So what we've done specifically to help mages, not necessarily hunters in
Interesting.
the middle, because the change here is to decrease
Interesting.
the protections of the big manticore
Okay.
in that camp. Down in terms of the magical ones from 16 to 10. So that's a pretty big base decrease
Yeah.
for specifically the magical characters. That's going to help them a lot in terms of clearing.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Does this
well,
mean the Hoth can
Harpies,
finally
to continue
clear?
the cam talk, are next. Mid Harpies specifically.
Yeah, I mean, kind of same idea with mid-harpies in general. There was a lot of
Decrease
issue in
the
terms of
base
clearing those
health,
because, again,
okay.
missing power. Even junglers missing
Okay.
a 10, right? So they're having a little bit of tough time with that as well. So altogether, when it
I was
comes
actually
to
just talking
the,
today about mid-harpy
class
clear.
passive change, those
I was
kind
just
of do
talking about
really
that this
fit
morning.
together in terms
I was
of
like, oh boy, I'm not
we need to make
Poseidon,
sure
so
that
I
people are
can't
able
clear
to
the
do this and
mid-harpies.
they're not
Yeah.
spending too much time here, or they're dying to it, or feeling like they can't do much after doing those camps.
Yeah, the inadvertent camp buff just kind
Both
of
of those changes are good. I mean, they're small, but
a
small
feature
can
that
be
I have
good.
always loved. I loved the first iteration. I
Hone
love
in.
the second iteration. Stygian Beacon is getting a little bit of a touch up.
Yeah, I think the
Making
big
it
thing
stronger.
here was we wanted
Okay.
to make sure that we kind of redesigned the reward there behind
I like
that.
it. I don't mind
feels
it being
good.
a
It's
little
really-
stronger.
It's
It's fun.
definitely
It's good.
last-
I like
you know,
it.
You're like, I want to
I
unleash
don't mind
these
it being a
Titans.
little-
I love the buff. Let's
little
fight over
amped.
this. And now you don't have to worry about the Titans unleashing. But you're like, I want to siege these towers. We're gonna fight over this. So
Right.
I think you did really well.
Yeah, and I think it accomplished that goal, but it wasn't kind of carrying into the late game as strong as we wanted,
Okay.
and we wanted to kind of feel that impact a little bit more, like wanted to push the needle in the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we figured that kind of small buff would kind of like push it in that direction.
Got it. Super cool. So next up, something else that's
Super
kind of
cool.
new to the Conquest world. You have the Fire Giant Effigy, and it's getting a little bit of love, huh?
Yeah, so this is
They're
a little
making
rock
this
that you may see next to the
squishier.
fire giant when
rock
it gets
guy.
started. It's just a
Reminder
little
that
guy,
the fire giant
once
will
he gets taken
kill
down, the fire giant
its
starts to
own
take a lot more
effigy
damage,
if you
right? But what
tank
we've
its
been seeing in the
abilities
matches that we've looked
towards
at
it.
is that it's
This
just
is your
not dying very
public
much. It's not dying very
PSA.
quickly. People aren't
You don't
necessarily
have to hit it
interacting with
ever. The
you
fire
know, in the
giant
way
will
we
kill
expect
it
them to, so we
in
want to kind of
6
give
seconds.
players a little bit more incentive to go and take a
Take
look
it
and
towards
start
it.
hitting it a bit more. So we're making it, bringing down that health just a hair, just 150. But even with the mitigations and stuff built on top of it, it can be a little bit difficult to get through that chunk of health, especially if you're, the guardian or the warrior that's hitting it.
Yeah.
If you are the sole responsible person for it, we want to make sure that any kind of class, any kind of build can get through it.
Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. And last but not least, kind of next to the fire or next to the effigy and across the map, we have in general a change to some of the map bosses or the way you interact with them. So what's going on with that?
So specifically, there
Decrease
was a lot of reports of players
lifesteal
not being able to
blocking
lifesteal from jungle bosses, and this
Okay.
kind of came to be because of the lifesteal changes that we made
Yeah.
in the previous
Okay.
patch, where we took down the percentage that you could heal from minions by 50%, and on top of that, map bosses debuff you to heal 50% less as well. So you end up getting to a net of 0, which
Yeah.
means that you're healing nothing. So actually, your lifesteal was working. It just was getting debuffed to 0. So what we've done is we've actually changed that debuff that gets applied to
Okay.
you when you're trying
I
to
was
lifesteal,
wondering.
to be 25% instead of 50. So in total now, if you are trying to lifesteal off of a jungle boss, it will be for 25%
Okay.
and not 0%.
I was
That's
like,
intentional.
that's
We
funny.
fixed that for this
I was
patch.
like,
So yeah, you get a little bit of that.
it was
lifesteal back.
yesterday
Super
when I
cool.
was doing.
So now we're
we were
Conquest.
fighting a boss. I was
moving
like, man,
into
I'm not
dual-
healing for
so for
nothing.
those people who are dual fans and have kept
For
up, we've
nothing.
been
Isn't it even
rotating
working?
some gods that have
Apparently
been
not.
banned and kind of
Good to
changing
know.
it up. So we have the new list. But first, let's start off with the old. So freshly unbanned, we have a variety of gods, and you'll see them here on screen. These are freshly unbanned, starting with update 11.2.
And
so
hers
as you'll
unbanned and
notice here,
dual.
There's some
We
top
did it.
tiers
We
making
did
their
it.
way back.
Top
into this.
tiers.
We've got some Anhurs, Anubis, Huyi, Baka, Uller. I'm sure is going to be a very exciting one for
sure.
a lot of content creators. But yeah, so we're starting to experiment with putting a lot of the top tiers, or mingling, you might say, mingling
Yeah.
top tiers back into the list, because you can see here.
How did
there's also
Vulcan
some
work
that are
his
not
way
top
in
tiers,
there?
or that you wouldn't expect him to be necessarily.
How did he sneak his way
but
in
that
there?
were pretty popular in 10.13, so they got banned in 11.1, and now we're like, all right, it's 11.2, it's time for them to come back.
Yeah, you can have them back.
So we'll see. We're going to keep a really close eye
It
on
was
how
just
these top
Paul?
tiers perform
Okay.
now that they're unbanned.
Yeah.
And see, if we can cycle in some more top tiers, pull some out, It's going to be a lot of experimentation, but we have a really cool couple of patches planned ahead as well. So keep your eyes out for the next rotations as well. But I'm sure this one's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that has been the motto for Smite 1 for as long as I've done update shows, is we have a really cool stuff now and later. So keep your eyes on it. So next up, obviously, if we're unbanning some gods, it's got to be some new banned gods as well. So let's look at that. These are the newly banned gods.
So these are a lot of the top performers in 11-1. We kind of are still keeping that mindset of if they're doing really well in the patch, we're going to take them out for the next
That's
one.
hilarious.
That may, continue
That's
to shift
the funny
as we
one
get
for
more
me is
data
the art
from here and
movie.
there.
Even Hercules
and
is kind of
various
funny.
Matches. And so we've had some new people show up and some old people from the original list show up as well.
Yeah.
But in general, we are going to shift these guys in and see how the
Hera
the
must be
top
a
tiers
Vulcan
that
situation.
have now been shifted in.
Argus
are
equals
going to
body equals body block
And
auto
just as one
equals
more touch,
2v1.
we have the still banned gods, so things that weren't unbanned or not newly banned. These are here. These are the same, where they're still by.
Yeah, so a lot of these characters are going to be like your super SS plus, like your Kali's, your AMCs, Kronos is maybe up there, Poseidon. Those characters are still banned because we know that playing against them can be a little bit frustrating. So we're trying to, again, limit the number of top tiers that you'll see in your games, but only certainly. We tried to kind of pick the ones that were a little bit less annoying. People wanted to play them more.
Bring
but of course, we want to make sure
the
that
auto
if you're a
ban
Kali
system
main and
to
you
Conquest.
duel, you're not
Do
gonna not
it,
be able
you
to play the god
cowards.
that you want to play.
Auto ban the top
She'll come
30
back
Conquest
eventually. We're just
gods.
figuring out exactly
Do
when
it.
we want to put her back in.
Well, seeing all
Do
of these,
it.
I completely agree, except for AMC, because that means no Amus and Corn, and that makes me sad.
No corns.
I mean, you're right. It's super annoying, but
How come Duel gets
I just
30
like the
auto
corn,
bans
so
and
ever
more
since that skin
bans
came
than
out, I was like, all right.
Conquest?
AMC has a lot
They
of
get
good
like
skins,
48
but
bans.
Amus and Corn is one of my favorites.
There's only two people!
So next up, we have one more game mode to talk about, and this is actually a little bit of an experiment. We're talking Slash. But we're not talking the Slash that everybody knows. We're talking Slash, but it's a 4v4. So this is an experiment that we're actually going to get into sometime in 11.2. The exact date we're still ironing out because it's an experiment. So we'll let y'all know. But what we're doing here is we're going to, for a while, have Slash available as a 4v4 game mode. For testing purposes. We want to see how the community likes it. We want to see if it feels like a healthier version of the Slash experience, if it just helps the game feel better overall. So again, bit of an experiment that we will be relying on our data, because we like our numbers, and y'all's feedback to help us decide if this is, if this was worth it, if it was a good idea. So again, y'all get more information in the future. Make sure to keep your eyes on our social pages and everything. And once it comes out, make sure to let us know with all of your very candid feedback. Please be candid. You always are. How you felt about it, because again, we're running an experiment. We like to do things that we think people will enjoy, and y'all are the people. So if you don't enjoy it, let us know. If you do enjoy it, please let us know. And cool, past that, we're into the world of items now. You ready to talk some items?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
So we're kicking off with nerfs, and we're kicking off with some starter items.
Yes, the first starter item that we're going to talk about is Warrior's Axe, and kind of the theme with the two starter items that you're going to see here is that we had intentionally given them a bit of a buff that was a little larger than it may have needed to make sure that the meta was changing before Worlds in a way that was going to be pleasant for all of our viewers and our players.
Was enjoyable.
For lack of a better way to phrase that. So
Warrior's Axe is good.
Specifically, is getting a small decrease in physical power, 20 to 15. It's going to definitely impact the early game for a lot of those characters that do like to use and abuse it.
Okay.
But it also opens up a little bit for your blue
Every
stones,
auto attack
your
warrior
tainted
building
steals, lots of
animosity
other
in
options
solo
there.
lane.
Yeah.
And so the second one kind of on this list is Timeline. It's getting a small power reduction buff. And you'll see a little bit why later, but we are only nerfing it a little bit because we have a competitor, spoiler alert, coming up.
Spoiler.
That we may be buffing.
Cool. Well, for me to
I
chime in
actually
into the
don't
thing that
see
I
a
always
lot of
say,
fans
update notes
anymore
are
in
live
mid
right now.
because
If you wanna
everybody
follow
has to buy
along,
conduit to
see
try
all the
to
numbers
compete
we're
in the
talking
early
about,
game
or check it
clear
out
with
later.
like
They will be
hunter
live,
mids
so
and
make sure
stuff.
you check those out during, before, or after the show.
Even the
So
all
let's
timeline
move
is an
on. We have
insanely
a
good
very
late game
horrific
item.
emblem and a whole tree of it even to talk about.
Less good in the early
Yeah,
game.
so this was far and away the relic that I heard the most about throughout our playtesting phase, as well as just being in live.
It was a mandatory
You
pickup.
experienced it quite a lot in support. It happened many a times that
Yeah.
I would buy horrific and just run it down, So having a lot of that power as a support does feel really, really nice.
Yeah.
But
It had to be done.
definitely
It
does
did.
a lot of things. We
It had
acknowledge
to be
that.
done.
But we want to make sure that the anti-healing aspect is still strong, the anti-shielding, that counter still exists.
Yeah.
So we're taking down a little bit of the slow, and we're also increasing the cooldown, so the availability of it is just going to be a little bit less frequent than all of the others, and that applies to every single rank of horrific.
Got it. You got to make sure that you're choosing when to use it a little more carefully now. All right, so next up, we're talking one of our new wards, it looks like. So that's exciting. What's going on with the new proximity ward?
So this one in general was mostly, it was very cool to
Yeah.
see a lot of new plays around the proximity ward.
They
which
are
is
very cool.
Just awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I was very excited to see people use this, but there was one use case that we were like, ooh, I don't know how to feel about that, and that was in lane, buying it in lane to start with, to kind of act as a combat kind of trick, more or less, to drop it on people that can't really run away. You know, maybe they don't even have their movement abilities by the time you
That's
get to lane,
pretty funny.
and they just gotta get slowed.
Yeah.
And I think it's a use case we definitely wanted to see with proximity ward. I think we just didn't want to see it as early as it was happening, and so that's why we're kind of shifting.
That is
it so
quite
it's, like,
funny.
locked behind that level 5.
Yeah, and it really is just the laning phase that we thought was like the problematic part. So level 5 is like the lowest unlock we have in the game in terms of when you're able to buy things.
Yeah.
So it's really just laning phase is a no-go.
People just
Anytime
running
after that,
around
though,
slowing
by
with
all
a combat
means,
war.
just
Wild.
drop it on your
I didn't
enemies
see
and slow
anybody
them
do
down.
that.
Yeah,
I
that's,
didn't
mean,
see
that's a super
anybody
cool
do
use
that.
case
That's
too,
hilarious,
because
though.
you know, somebody like me, I played with it a little bit. I was like, oh, dude, I'll put it on the far side of Fire Giant. They come to contest. They're slow. We turn on them. Beautiful. My brain had never even clicked into for the longest time, like, throw it at them while
That's
I'm
too
running them
good.
down. They'll never escape. Like, super. That's why I love giving things into the
That
world and
combined
watching
with
people make plays with them, because I'm
the
over here getting
creeping,
my
that's
mind
toxic.
blown constantly.
Toxic.
So moving forward, Demon Blade, Devoted Deathbringer. What is the line between them? What are the changes?
Crit. Crit's good.
Crit is good.
Crit is good.
Crit good.
One of the main things we wanted to address here with crit in particular is there is a very common discussion that happens whenever crit becomes relevant, where
What's up,
crit
Rosie?
just has too many stats. It
Yeah.
does a lot of different things. It's too multifaceted, and that's an argument that we totally understand, and we see that purpose coming around, especially when we
course.
see the builds and things and the theoreticals all come into line.
I think they're saying it removed the attack
so
speed
for
on
Demon
the
Blade,
passive.
this is a very interesting one,
which
because
was
Demon
10%,
Blade's
I think,
passive
when you crit,
gives
right?
you penetration and attack speed. Well,
Yeah.
no longer does it give you attack speed. It still has the attack
you
speed on the base stats of the item.
Okay.
You just don't gain it when you crit.
Got it.
So that extra aspect of gaining another set of stats is no longer going to happen. It's just going to be on the base of the item, and that's it. As
Rock and
for
roll.
Devoted
So it
Deathbringer,
gives
though,
Pat
I mean, this is a
on
very
the passive.
contentious item, I know. This is kind of
Yeah.
like the enabler
Yeah.
This had to be
when
done.
it comes to the
It
crit
had
build.
to.
So we are just going to decrease this multiplier one more time. We kind of stealth
Yep.
nerfed it coming out of PTS, which we didn't have a whole lot of communication on, which we apologize for, and that could have led to a lot of that misunderstanding of, oh, this is way more OP than it actually is.
Yeah.
But we still have seen a lot of that stress around crit is really strong, so we want
Yeah.
to take it
It's
down one more
because
time.
being
to make
able
sure
to
that
only
we
build
are
2
really,
crit items
nailing
and basically
exactly what you guys want to
guaranteeing
do.
crits.
I think one of
is
the
just
core
like,
things about the item is we wanted to make sure that people who wanted to
Too
just
strong.
go maximizing crit had like a good payoff for doing that. But we felt like maybe in its current state it was a little bit too strongly tuned in that direction.
Yeah.
So this is just a way to kind of bring it back more in line with the rest of the item builds.
Got it. But I mean, man, what a messed up day. Nerfing something with the word devoted on the day of love. Like,
Gosh,
obviously we
sorry.
weren't devoted to keeping that. It's whatever, But anyway, we're moving on to buffs now in the item trees. Starting with, also kind of relevant to Valentine's Day, I guess, the gems. So,
yeah.
Conduit and Archmage's gem, both
Yeah.
kind of on this
excited
buff
about
tree.
So this is what I was referring to earlier when I said that a competitor was getting buffed.
Competitor.
Conduit is now getting buffed. It's getting a kind of an interesting shift, actually, which I would consider a buff, to where the
Decreased time
stack
per
time,
stat.
because when you get Conduit gem, you have to stack up, and it takes time to get those stats, right? And so a lot of times, I'm saying time too many times, but
Does that seem like a nerf to me?
essentially you
time.
have to wait
Question
a long
mark?
time to get the full payoff. and then
Decreased
to get
damage
the full
per
lane
stack.
clear, etc.
Yeah.
We're going to be decreasing that time by half, but we're also slightly decreasing the true damage per stack that you're getting. This is not counting the minions. This is just on players.
Yeah.
By 1. So yes, you're getting it faster. You're going to be doing slightly less damage, but it's still going to be way, way more damage than you ever would have been doing before at 10 seconds. So overall, it's a buff. Just
Yeah.
kind of keeping it in line with this.
Is it
very
way
slight
more, or is
adjustment
it
to the
literally
damage.
Yeah, I think this item is taking
Stacking
a bit of a
half
backseat to
as
Sands for a bit. and
fast?
It's cool to see it like a lot more consistent.
If
Yeah.
it's
Able to
stacking
get it
twice
off,
as
and I think it
fast,
reduces
but
the
doing half as
friction,
much
which is
damage,
gonna
is
make
that
it
not
a
the same
lot
amount of
easier to build in,
DPS?
a bunch of
Or am I
different
dumb?
circumstances.
Yeah, make it make more sense.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of same idea there for Archmages as well. There's no damage shift on this one because really this one has not been very popular
Yeah.
for a long time, if ever.
True.
So we really want to see if this is going to help shift up the focus skin
Yeah.
between this and
Bring it on.
Gem of Focus. Haha. That's so
All the
funny.
gems.
So
are-
it'll be
I mean, you heard it here.
So
Between
they
those two
just
buffs, take
decreased
your,
the damage on
that
players,
special lane partner you
so
have, that special
twice as
team
much
member you're queuing with
PvE
over to the jungle shop and
because
buy
it
'em one of
stacks
those gems for
faster, but the
Valentine's
same
Day. So,
PvP.
Only. Well, you're giving me ideas now.
Ow.
Stop.
there you go. So next up, completely unrelated to gems and love, Death's Temper.
Yeah, so this is a hunter basic attack item that you really haven't seen very much of. And you could even say it's possible to build it in solo. We have been seeing some Death's Embrace.
Basic attack from 3.5 to 7%, huh?
To go with that. But Death's Temper is just kind of taking a back seat.
Oh,
again,
because they lowered the stacks. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So what we're doing
like,
here is
what?
10 minions. Was a lot of minions to have to kill.
Half as many stacks, twice as efficient.
Most waves have 6, right? So that's more than a single wave that you have to be taking care of. And this is at when you're level 20. How often are you really being in the waves at level 20 unless you're sieging? It's not very often,
That's
right?
true.
So what we've done is we've just kind of shifted Death's Temper to have half the stacks, but double the stats. So you're still getting
It
to the
is
point
way
where
more
you can get
interesting
the
because
same
now you
number
actually
value
stack it
across
off
the
of
board,
a
just
wave
there in half the
instead
time.
of-
So 5 minions instead of 10.
Wow, you
Same
could- it
damage.
was-
And
it
then we
was
also gave it an
impossible to
extra
stack
75 health because we
earlier.
were looking at that. 75 health at a tier 3, kind of crazy a little bit. So
Kind of nutty a little bit.
just a little bit more help in the stats department as well.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Similar to Conduit, right? It's like, how do we make this item more reliable?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
this definitely makes this item more reliable. Especially like there are times where I've always wanted to build Death's Temper because I love, going attack speed items and maybe didn't want to go into the lifesteal one. But that kind of minion restriction always kind of held it back from hitting that full potential. And I feel like this, again, makes it a lot easier to get there.
Yeah, of course.
And more reliable in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree too. Like, it's awesome when you get to the point of these items work at a technical level, but now we need to think about, like you said, that friction. Like,
Right,
what is it that makes this feel more attainable or makes this a competitive option? So it's cool to see that the stats are changing, but we're also looking at what helps gives this item edge against its better competitors. It's just cool to see those changes.
It would pair really
So,
well with
awesome to
potentially
continue
Silver Branch, yes,
staying on
some
brand
sort of-
with this
some
Day
sort
of
of
love,
thing there, yeah.
rejuvenating heart.
Oh my gosh, we
you
just
could get
really
it
nailed
going.
it.
Planned this. The script for this one's crazy.
All right, if you see those numbers, you're gonna think it's crazy, and believe me, I also thought it was crazy. 33% shared healing to 75%. This is a magical item. So you're getting on a magical characters who a lot of the time are already getting hit by a 33% AoE coefficient decrease to their lifesteal. So getting 33% of 33% was not ideal by a lot of regards.
Yeah.
So even if you are sharing that to your teammates, which is always really nice, good to share.
It's good to share.
It wasn't very much, and you're also getting that additional healing proc yourself. So the first thing we were like, okay, well, this is not very much healing at all. And number 2, people have never really thought to pick up this item, even when in its old passive, so we really need to give it a big push.
We need to give it some love.
If we want people to give it a try,
heart,
right?
yeah.
So we understand this number will look scary, but maybe lifesteal will be good. Lifesteal's good at last.
I guess we're going to find out.
Question mark? Well, the only two things that I can
that's
take away from
that's
this
a big
are,
ass
one,
number.
how effortlessly
75% shared healing.
Like you just slid
Yo,
that
that's a big old number.
See, that's right.
Plus the stacks on yourself.
Okay, that's a word people
right?
use. That's a big word.
So-
secondly, we all have big hearts around here, so
To be fair,
40 something percent bigger, I
lifesteal
can do
mages
math,
right now
42%
are
bigger.
not
We're just out here
good.
showing
Like
the love,
Anubis
so
just doesn't
I'm
heal
excited for that,
enough to
especially
like
somebody who
make up for the
likes
fact
sharing
that
the healing.
he stands
so
still
Vibrant
boy.
Shard
You know,
is next on the docket, and it's
So,
getting a little.
we'll
little
see if it
soft action.
helps.
Yeah, so the new passive shards certainly made quite a big mark on the
They made a
battleground.
splash.
They did. Vibrant Shard, though, was perhaps the least of them all, and that was a little bit disappointing to us because we understand that Party Punch was definitely
they're
a jungler
buffing
special,
Vibrant Shard.
but also Golden Shard.
Oh, that's
was super,
funny.
super good. So we were like, okay, well, Golden Shard's kind of new. We want to keep seeing like what it can do through another
That's
patch.
funny.
But
Yeah, of
Vibrant
course.
Shard, we kind of want to.
Vibrant Shard is
increase
still
rate
the
that people are
go-to
gonna
for
try it.
junglers.
And especially towards that later stage of the game, which is why we
Still
touched the
the
scaling
go-to for
specifically.
junglers.
But it's kind of a tough spot to land on, right?
It's really the
Because if it's
only
too
people
good,
that get it
people
though,
aren't gonna
because
trade
to be
out.
fair, it
And then if it's
actually
not
the
gonna
math
they're
on
never
it is
gonna
pretty
buy it.
bad. But
Yeah, quite the
Still.
thin line you have to walk there.
Yeah, it's tough.
So next up, the thing that every time I see it on the notes, I have to
Ooh.
think, how do I say this? Cannoneers, it's Curus? Is it Curus?
I want to say Curious.
Curious?
You want to say? That's a lot of confidence you
Yeah.
just gave me. All right. Cannoneer's chestplate. What's up?
So this item has been so close to being support viable for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right now, the
Cool
decision between going cloak or going into
I
Thieves
don't
is
know
still
if it's
pretty
been
cool.
close
I
to
think a lot of
being
players are really
viable.
enjoying having that
I
option to
don't
go
know if
with
that's
either one of those or
true.
both. They're very fun items, right? But Cannoneers is kind
I
of this
don't
undiscovered
know.
third option. And really, what's happening is that it just is not as stat efficient as the other two. You start to earn a lot of prots in Thebes and on the cloak that you just aren't getting the same through
Yeah.
Cannoneers. So we want to just kind of inch it a little bit closer.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we've
And then
noticed
it'll
these
start
like
to break through.
small little stat nudges a lot of the time can really like push the item back
Yeah.
into viability. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying here.
And it's crazy how true that is too. How sometimes you're like, we have to take this item and redefine its existence, and then it's good. And sometimes you're like, we'll give this 1% attack speed and 10 health, and it's like the meta item all of a sudden.
Eventually, someone's going to try it. call up genetics, call up PBM. Someone's gonna do it, and it's gonna catch on, and
Yeah.
then it's gonna be super OP.
Yeah, it'll be like 11.5. It'll be we nerf it into the earth because people were like, wait a minute, this item is cracked.
It's very exciting because it does have that extra gold spooling, and it's got
Yeah.
extra clear potential too. So some low clear supports can do it. We've even seen a little bit of experimentation in other lanes, which
Yeah.
you're losing that gold aspect, but maybe the clear is what's valuable to them.
Yeah.
But either way, it's getting there. It's close.
It's getting there.
I can
Either
feel
way,
it.
Lass
The
is never
adjustments
gonna
are
buy it.
close.
Even
So
if it
next
becomes
up, the
OP, I'll
hammer,
never
the
know.
Blackthorn hammer.
I'm excited.
It'll just be the enemy
Excited?
supply.
All right, we'll get into it.
Well, so I mean, I'm a huge fan of
Now
the hybrid
that
items, so I'm like
is
really
scary.
happy to see this one kind of coming back into the.
That
fold.
reminds
You might
me a
have more
lot
thoughts
of
on, like, kind of
the
where we
original
felt like how we
Blackthorn
found these
hammer,
numbers.
which was,
but
if
generally
you
speaking,
recall,
I think we wanted people to be
a
able to
massive
afford it a little bit
problem.
easier and kind of nudging up that health again. Same in line with how just nudging stats a little bit can kind of bring an item into viability. I think combining that with the gold reduction really helps.
That's
finding
a lot of oomph.
Yeah, I mean, who isn't excited about more for less, regardless of what it is?
That's
but
a
item stores
stat
know
block
it's
of an
no
item.
different.
A
You're like, I
stat
need these
block.
stats, and I can get them for a little bit less.
Could
Let's
be
go,
really
I'll buy
good
a
if you're
hammer.
against like
Yeah,
a
I mean, it
physical
was a lot of-
and like
a
a
lot
physical
of
solo
comparisons
magical
to the other
juggler kind of
games, right?
situation
Because
where it's like,
Blackthorn
just give
was
me
last in the
HP.
game, the environment it was in was very different. I mean, Runeforge was not the
true.
same. Frostbound was not the same. There's a lot of comparisons in that Dawnbringer didn't exist. So there's quite a few differences that this hammer has fallen into. So one thing we wanted to do is, okay, what does this passive do compared to the other ones?
Yeah.
Is that equal gold value? No, not quite. Not the same. So we wanted to make sure that it was, at an adequate gold cost. And then we also did a shift to its stats previously because it had power and health.
Yeah.
And we wanted to put a little bit more power into it and take away some of that health. But we have seen that taking away a bit of that health has kind of made it a little bit less viable in that regard because you just don't get the defenses that you really need. So we wanted to give it just a smidge more health and take down that price to a place that we thought that it was good for.
Awesome. Well, we've made it to the final item of the item section of
final
Balance,
item.
and that's Titan's Bane.
Yeah, so this one might be surprising to some folks, and that's
Okay.
totally understandable.
Surprise me.
The reason that this is showing up is because in our data, we have seen that a lot of the late game damage of ability-based characters,
Okay.
specifically assassins, a lot of the
Titan's
time, has
Bane
gone
is
off
interesting
mostly against tanks.
Because
Tanks
I
are
actually see
doing-
more
are getting
hunters
dealt a lot
picking
of
up
the damage
Titan's Bane
from
as their
carries
last
and
item
from mages,
compared to
Yeah.
and
like
it's a lot less
assassins,
of the,
which really
the
it's
assassins
meant
doing
for.
it. So we want to make sure that the late
You
game
know?
payoff for these
Which is
assassins,
weird.
especially the ones that are either full commit and need to just get as much damage in one go, or
Yeah.
poke assassins. Either way, both of them were kind of suffering in that ultra late game, and this is kind of the premier 6th item slot.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
okay.
Well, that makes sense. Especially,
It's
I have limited
interesting.
experience in the assassin world, but you want to be able to, you're like, all
It's
right, I'm about to
interesting.
play Gray Screen Simulator, but I want to do something before I get there with this dive. So having something to more reliably do that sounds good. So now
Should
we're
be
into the
better
God section.
competition
We
for
got some God
serrated
changes
edge
to
in the
talk about,
jungle
and we're
to
going to
try
start
out,
off
at
in the
least, you
world
know.
of nerfs, starting with Athena, one of the scariest global presence havers of all the gods, I'd say. So what's being nerfed about Athena?
Yeah, speaking of global presence, that's what we're nerfing.
That's a nerf.
Not the cooldown or frequency of it per se, but the effectiveness of it. So she is
okay.
going to remain at 20% at max rank, but her early game strength is going down. So we're going to be starting her at 10% damage mitigation and 10% movement speed. That also counts for herself.
Yeah.
And then ranking it up as she goes forward into the game. So this should really help those early game rotations of her going across the map feel a little bit less scary. And even in the other game modes where she kind of just has like this free back to base and get in there button.
Yeah.
Not quite as terrifying for those who face her.
You can deal with it a little more. Late game, you still have to know what you're doing, but early game, you have a little more leniency.
We've also noticed with a lot of characters when you have like a base stat that's present at all ranks, sometimes just kind of smoothing it out over the ranks makes it a little bit easier to balance relative to some of the other things in the game.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a progression, the scale to work with. So instead of like it's all or nothing with this, like you said, it's a little smoother of a curve, and yeah. All right, well, cool. So next up, Maman Brigitte.
She'll
I
still
feel
be
like
strong,
Maman
'cause,
has
like, taunt
been
exists,
a very
you know?
loud addition to the battleground. Like,
Oh, in more ways
came,
than one.
yeah, came, hit hard, and has continued to be a presence. So,
Mama's
what
such an
nerfs
interesting
are on
god
the docket
because
for her?
So Maman
statistically,
Brigitte
she
has
just doesn't do
continued
that
to
well.
not necessarily
But
have the
she's such a
performance
monster.
of a character that we'd be, typically nerfing.
Yeah.
But she's definitely had
Same.
the
Like she
presence
said.
in community feedback, which is something that we
impact.
want to really
Like
focus
she said,
on. Is that the frustration
statistically,
factor
she
is
doesn't do
definitely
well.
something that we are keeping in mind.
That's true.
So one
She's
of the
literally
things that
just
we've seen in
old
terms of
Persephone.
frustration has been party trick. How it
Not
feels
a
like it's up
problem
basically
until
all the time
she's
if she's
the
able
only
to get
thing
that
you can
stun
think
going.
about.
Yeah.
So we are increasing the base cooldown only. So this is only if you completely empty out your rum
Yeah.
and you drink it all, you stun. it will be on an 8-second cooldown versus a 6-second cooldown than it was before. And then Spirit Seize is another one of those abilities that's like she's jumping in. Get it off.
Yeah, what can I do?
So we're just taking that damage down a little bit more to make sure that when she hops in, it's more of she needs to do more than just do that to finish someone off.
Yeah.
She's got to continue to combo alongside it to make it really worthwhile.
On the receiving end, it should feel a little bit more fair.
Yeah, a little easier to play around instead of being like, oh, that's in me, I'm dead now. So, cool. So next up, the Loudbird. Thoth getting a little bit of a nerf, which I'm fine with because Thoth is one of those people that I've never been good at playing, and I've always been good at dying to.
That checks out.
Well, what's going on with the nerfs?
He's kind of like the classic artillery mage, right? Where he is able to sit pretty far away. He's kind of safe. He doesn't have any CC immunity,
but
he's got a lot of damage, right? So his
damage.
CC immunity is just making sure that you are dead, and then he doesn't have to worry about it, right? So instead of that, what we are doing is we are kind of trying to take down Thoth for
as
those
much as I love
players that are
Thoth.
hitting a lot of
Yeah.
So this is going to be a pretty significant nerf to Hieroglyphic Assault, where he would get extra damage on subsequent hits, where for a lot of characters it's decreasing. For him it was the opposite, right? So he's getting that taken down just a bit because we know that is something that contributes to a lot of his gameplay, whether that's his clear, his poke. It's going to affect a lot of different facets. And then the other thing we're doing is taking Final Judgment down. Those people that are accurate with it, I mean, that hurts real bad when you get hit with that straight in the noggin. Yeah, not a good feeling. So you still have a lot of scaling. I mean, 120% is quite a lot.
That is, it is a lot.
Their characters were like at that average level, right? They're pretty fair, but then with that variance, they can kind of like push that ceiling a little bit too far. So that's kind of what we're trying to do is like reel that back in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make it a little more. That makes perfect sense to me. So moving down the line, we're still kind of in the animal world, but we're on the newer side of gods with Bake Kujira. So made a splash on the battleground, I'd say, and
keep nerfing them.
I did say it too, but so
Good,
needs a little bit of touch up though. What are the nerfs coming in?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes here, and so some of this is going to be a little bit confusing. I understand, so we're going to take it nice and easy here. First up, Rough Waters. This is one. So we are shifting these stacks. So essentially what would happen is when you activate this ability, if you hit enemies, you get
from
protection.
60 protections late game to 40.
So a 6, which is 1 minion wave, up to 10.
That's a good nerf.
Instead of just bringing it down to 6, which would take the prods down by quite a lot, we're taking it to 8 at all ranks. So he still has to hit more minions to actually get the
Keep
full
nerfing.
protections at level 1, which is going to impact
Harpoon
his
that
rank
stupid
1 of that
whale.
pretty frequently. Laning phase is where you have rank 1, so that's kind of a 1 pointer for that. The next thing that we're doing is decreasing the protections by 1 at all ranks as well. So at rank 1, you're getting 8 of each. So again, not too scary compared to what it would have been before, which is 12. So that's going down by 4 in that early game again, which is going to be really helpful for that super oppressive laning phase that we've been seeing.
Yeah.
But that's for the 1. Moving on, let's talk about Sonic Wave. This is 2.
Next ability. You're right, that was confusing. Follow the patch notes.
His 2 can get spammed, but honestly, his 2 is his least problematic ability.
It'll help.
You're explaining well. I just have the mind of a goldfish, and you're talking about a whale, so... Sonic Wave.
It works together, but yeah, Sonic Wave is his second ability.
All right.
This is the cone that does damage. It's just going to do a little bit less damage in all ranks, but again, early game, 10 less damage. It's on a relatively low cooldown. It's going to help out pretty frequently.
I got that one. All right, let's keep going.
Finally, the ultimate. We're shifting the damage increase debuff. So this is when you're sitting close to him.
Yeah,
so you're not in the tie-dye. Yep, you're right in the center. So the damage is getting increased by 1% in the early game. And this is more so to make sure that, when you are able to go to the late game, that it can get taken down. So instead of 5 to 15%, which is
a lot.
15% increased damage is a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It can be 10% in the late game. So instead of 5 to 15, it's 6 to 10. So late game, not going to be as impactful. Early game,
just a little more.
Just much more. But there's the reason for that is
he will still be good
for bringing the high end low.
He will still be an incredibly strong god. I promise.
So
but
y'all
hopefully
over here, like,
he
does all these numbers,
less
and you're like this in
full
the early
tank
game,
one shot.
The late game, and I'm over here like designers are impressive. Y'all are crazy. So or y'all just great work y'all are doing. Look at that on the patch notes. The whale is less scary now. All right, we're gonna keep moving. My brain is just like there's smoke coming out of my ears. So our boy Cuckoo is up next on the docket. The slippery snake and Slipstream itself getting a little twist, a little adjust.
Good.
Yeah, so we did a change to this one.
Slipstream is a
where he
disgustingly
gets
strong ability,
in this
actually.
ability. And then we realized, oh wait,
That's
when this ability is fully Slow immune, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
It's very strong. So even though he gets decreased movement speed over time, that initial
It was
burst
like
of
the
movement speed is what
best
people usually feel the most, and
Yeah.
80%
leap
at max
movement
rate,
or whatever.
that's
Like
a
it was
lot.
crazy.
That's a lot of
Zooming.
movement speed. He's zooming. So we are taking down all ranks by 10%, which is going to help out a lot. But we're also increasing the cooldown towards that max level as well. So it's still
Okay.
going to stay at 15 at rank 1.
Got
But
it.
instead of going 15 to 11, it's going 15 to 13.
Cool. That makes sense. Nice. Straightforward. So next up is Hachi. What is Hachi's getting Heavenly Banner and Mounted Archery, both slight adjustments, looks like.
Yeah, so he's just a very safe character, right?
He is.
He's your jack of all trades, just kind of does everything
Alright.
Yep.
pretty
Yeah.
well. So in general, we want to make sure that it's clear, just goes down by a hair. I know 1 second seems like it's not that much, but believe me,
It makes
the
it
amount,
fun.
of, the amount of time that you use this ability during the game that you're just going to have it 1 second less, and you're going to go, man, I wish I had it this
I
point.
wish I had it 1 second earlier.
Well, that's why he was doing pretty well, is he was
Yeah.
having this up. And mounted archery, again, is that really big piece of safety that makes him so good at not being gankable, which is
I'm
really
so
the
proud
thing
of
that's
them
very
for getting
important
real
as a hunter.
microphones.
Yeah.
If you avoid
I'm
ganks as a
so
hunter and
proud
you just
of
play
them.
to live and you farm up,
Somebody gave them
you're
a
doing
budget.
Your job,
Yeah,
right?
you're doing
so
fine.
He's getting that ability to run away very frequently, so we're taking that back just a hair to make sure he still has it, just not as much. A little bit more opportunity for
A
junglers.
little more vulnerable.
Yeah, nothing like coming to lane and trying to gank, and he's like, "That's cool, it's a nice gank, but I have a horse and
Yeah.
it's thrown over." And you know, as
You
we
don't have a horse.
yeah,
I mean,
as we continue to go through this too, I just to highlight what you said earlier, Chaos.
Only
It's the
10
1
years
second
late.
adjustments.
Hey,
It's the 1%
just in time for
adjustments
Smite
that
2
you're
patch
like,
notes.
oh, they changed
Okay?
it 1%.
Just
That's
in
or
time.
1 second. That's not, but it's crazy how much of a difference that makes, and it's always fun to highlight how specific these changes can be sometimes, because it's just cool. So staying in the hunter subcategory here, we have On Her coming up next.
yeah, Anher's like a close second to Hachiman. Again,
Yeah.
very safe. Especially
got the
with
jump.
the recent buff to shifting stance. So we are just going to
Decrease the
revert one of those
shifting
buffs,
stance.
which
Yeah.
was to increase the slow from it was
That's
15
not
to
a big
35,
deal.
and now it's returning back to 15 to 35
Okay.
from where it was before. It just it was very, very potent at zoning.
The slow
especially in
was
the lane. You
nice,
typically
but,
level
like,
the second.
you really
so
use it
having
for
that
the
extra,
body
even
blocks
5%
and
in
the
the early game,
pillar
especially
stuns
combined
and
with
the,
like
you
the
know.
horrifics that are really strong and the proximity wards, it was just a lot of slow.
It
right?
also
There's a lot of,
be a good
area
slow.
control and
Isn't
CC in a
Anne
way
her
that
bad?
you wouldn't
No,
really expect
Anne
it
her
to be
players are
powerful,
bad.
but it definitely was.
That's
very
the
powerful.
difference.
In that vein of making characters again feel more fair, I think this is an adjustment that gets them, more into that position where you feel
Yeah.
a little bit more fair boxing against On Her.
Yeah, instead of being like enemy on her, I'm not trading during this laning phase. I just have to. I'm gonna sit by tower. So all right, cool. So Charon is up next with Damnation getting a little touch up.
Yeah, Charon has been quite the enigma lately. We've been seeing him in places I was
think that's
not
good.
expecting
Yeah.
to see him. A lot of mid.
A lot of mid.
Which is very interesting. Go off, I guess.
Yeah, when you have a
but
boat, where can't you go? I guess.
But he's still getting a lot of that shielding off, and that typically tends to be
He's
the
so much
frustration
more
factor for a lot of
problematic
players
as a
is he's
support,
getting
though, than a
sneaky
mid.
amount of shielding. So what we're doing is we're decreasing the amount of shield that he's getting based on his health. So you know,
Okay.
typically he's built like the tiniest bit tanky if he's going mid.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times he's being built in support or even solo if people are kind of feeling it, So taking that health fragment down is going to do way, way, way more than any amount of base shielding would do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. And last but not least, in the God nerfs area is Vamana and Big Baby's getting a
Good.
little
We
touch.
just buffed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take
it back down.
right? Because he went
There
from being
you go. Look at that power
unplayable,
nerf.
worst god in the game,
To ban.
to suddenly being, oh my god, he's so good again.
Yeah,
Every single match, have
stopped
to
his
ban
ban.
him.
Yeah.
His ban rate between 10-13 and 11-1 is like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like literally the chart is like a straight diagonal line.
It's a stonks meme, dude. It's just
It
there it
is.
goes.
It's funny. You can see how much those small nudges matter, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like doing something like that just instantly boosts. them up.
Yeah, it went from like garbage bottom tier
Rack
whatever
him.
to like lock
Rack
this or
him.
ban this or you're dumb. So
So here's the thing.
75 power is
He probably would've headed back
crazy,
to
by the
spot
way.
where he was
That's
before.
crazy.
But we wanted to make sure that this ult was still feeling like the duration
Like
was
what?
really still fun, right? Because that's the core is you get to go big baby mode and stop
yeah,
around
that
for a
ult
little
is
bit.
fun. It's always been fun.
And we wanted to make sure you still had that time to do those things. The problem is that it just gives you a lot of free
It's literally
stats
more
when
than a
you-
full
when you-
power item.
So what
It's
we're
like
doing is we're
a-
taking
that's
the
a-
power
that's
down
an
by
item and a half.
very, very big chunk in the late game
Okay.
because that tends to be when it gets online. I mean,
Yeah.
75 free power, especially after the power nerfs that we did come mid-season last year. That's a lot of power.
Yeah, that's
a lot of
a
power.
big amount of power. It's a big guy.
And also, we just adjusted his lifesteal on top of that up to 37.5%. But now that's going back down to 30 because it is a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah.
Especially on gods, which is how you get more movement speed. So if you're hitting gods, you're lifestealing, you're going faster, you have a lot of power. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So
it's
we're trying to take that
perfect
back a little
storm.
bit.
So
exactly.
Well, cool. Glad to know that I can be stepped on a few more times before having to skulk back to base. Well, that does it for the god nerfs. Now, of course, we have the god buffs. We have who's on the docket to get a little stronger.
Dandy's getting stepped on for Valentine's
Hades,
Day,
our dude from the underworld.
Yeah, so you would have thought, lifesteal
Everybody
just
else is
got a
living the
big
dream,
change
I
to it.
guess.
Hades is going to be good.
Yeah, he's on top.
No, I don't know how this happened, but he was not doing very well.
He showed up
Added
late.
a protection
Lifesteal meeting, yeah.
debuff.
Yeah, I mean, as it turns out, lifestealing into gods when someone stands still in ults tends to be pretty easy to hit those things.
Yeah,
So
fair.
Hades just needs a little bit of extra help in doing damage back. So he's getting a 10% protection debuff on top of the protection debuff he already has, and this applies if they are blighted already. So if you blight someone, then you ult someone, they get debuffed. So this is just adding on top of the flat reduction. Now there's a % reduction.
Got it.
I think this just increases his utility, right? Because in any role that you're doing, and if you're doing it support, you're doing it solo, you're doing it mid, wherever you want to play him.
Yeah.
It's always relevant to have that sort of 10% reduction. So I think that also increases his viability in different roles, and that's kind of what we're aiming for.
Yeah, help try to give them the chance to diversify.
To be fair, I
while
don't
still
see
feeling
Andy
useful in
Hades
each of those
anymore,
different
but-
areas. I'm all about it. I love seeing people tech things into
All of
places
the
where you're
lifesteal
like,
mages kind
wouldn't
of
have guessed that you could do
stopped
that there,
getting
but I'm
played
losing,
after
so
they
good
did those
job.
changes to lifesteal in
So
general.
next up, Hebo, the splashy boy.
Yeah, so this is another kind of symptom of a couple of different things that we changed in the last patch, which was, number one, Bountiful Bow is gone, which means he's getting a little bit less cooldown. Number
That's
two,
true.
class passes are gone, so he's missing a lot of that power in the early game.
Yeah.
So this was really focused around his early game and his farm potential, not really his
Okay,
fighting
minions.
potential. So what you see here is that we did 2 buffs to Water Cannon,
non-PvP,
which is his main
it
clearing
seems.
ability. The damage to minions is increased by 5%, which, is still pretty significant considering that's pretty high damaging ability.
That is, yeah.
And then on top of it, he's just getting a slight mana cost reduction as it goes up as well. So because you're probably leveling this first, I would imagine, you're going to be using that cooldown a lot because it's a 4-second cooldown.
Yeah,
It comes up very
all the time.
frequently. And so spending 80 mana every single time you're using it was just draining the mana real fast.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that down, just make it a little bit easier for him to clear and to feel like he had that chance to actually get to his items and not worry so much about the mana.
That makes sense. I mean, hey, like you said, with all of the crazy changes, they came with 11.1, like a new year's worth of update. Not surprising that the water guy suffered from the ripples. So next up, we have Hu Yi.
So this is a very interesting character to talk about because you would think he'd be very
Hoo-yee.
strong in a crit meta because his passive is you can't crit me.
Yeah.
But he just isn't able to keep up in terms of his clear.
Because the clear
and it's
sucks.
actually very, very interesting to buff Ricochet because it has a lot of implications. If you
There are a
buff
lot
the
of-
base damage, you start to get into the double and the triple bounces
Yeah.
that people start to memorize, and those really, really skilled 2E players can take advantage of that a lot more than people that are just single bouncing all the time.
Yeah.
So we want to be very careful bringing this up. So we are taking it 5 base damage, and that may not look like a lot, but the amount of times that you're using it, on top of the fact that you can double, triple bounce,
Yeah,
it adds up.
it's
over
multiplicative,
time.
and
Yeah.
then, well, cool. That makes sense. Yeah, for
little more
you
clear.
double, triple bouncers out there, like you'll feel it. So Jing Qian up next.
This is a
Our-
huge buff. I'm
our
not gonna lie
spinny,
to you.
stompy man.
This one might be the
Damage
most
reduction.
or second most. It's hard to say because there's still some exciting stuff coming up after this.
Okay.
But
Hook
Xing Chen is
slam.
getting very big buffs here.
Okay.
Very
First
big.
up, poor Xing Chen, not been seen for a while. We've given him a lot of buffs, especially around
A little
the
bit of
DR
extra
changes coming
reduction
to the patch
early
a couple patches
game.
ago. So first up, Furious Roar. This is essentially kind of your anti-basic attacker tool that you see him use a lot in support to kind of stop the enemy ADC from clearing. We're actually shifting how soon you get this damage reduction in the early game. So you're starting at
Okay.
30%, which is actually very, very impactful.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it does still go up to 50%, which, if you're canceling out 50% of an auto attacker's damage in the late game, quite a lot.
Yeah.
So starting it even closer to that number in the early game from level 1 is going to feel really, really nice.
That is cool.
But that's not even the craziest thing here, because Hook Slam is getting a decrease in cooldown from 14 at all ranks to 14 down to 12, which is going to feel really nice.
I think Xing Chen's
2 whole
problem is that
seconds
his
off at the end of the
ultimate
game there for one of
sucks.
the bread and butter. So
Yeah,
that'll
no?
be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. I'm excited about that. So Cerberus up next.
His rest of his kit is actually good. It's just that his ultimate is so easy to just walk away from.
Healing and lifesteal changes, you would think that Cerb would be doing well just due to his passive and his ability to keep up with all of that, but not the case here. But this is actually a very cool new effect that Cerberus is going to be getting on Soul Expulsion, which is his leap. So when he leaps onto enemies, they spawn little souls, right? When you spawn onto a god, they spawn god souls. So now, when you kill a god soul specifically, you get a 2-second cooldown reduction on your leap. So if you leap on a lot of people and you munch down their souls, have your teammates munch the souls, whatever it might be, and they die, you get a 2-second cooldown off of your 3, no matter how many souls that there are. So if you jump on 5 people, you can get 10 seconds off. It's crazy.
Woof, even. Dang, that's
cool. It's a small jump, but maybe it'll happen.
No, it'll happen.
That's different.
If I see like somebody tweet a clip of that, I'm going ham, dude.
Okay,
like,
but
I
mean,
you're literally never going to get 5.
You can't get your friends to 5 stack in a custom.
2
like, naturally
for minus
in the world,
4 seconds is viable.
You're ranked, ranked queue, and that's how you win the game. Is you just leap like 2 times back to back because you got that cooldown. Bro, I'm hyping you up. I'm your hype man for that day. So, all right, well that's cool. And Zhong Kui is up next.
Yeah, do we have people that love Zhong Kui in this room?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
I see some folks.
Zhong Kui is another character that kind of, can turn into that lifesteal route if he wants to, but essentially we're just giving him a little bit of extra, quality of lifestyle changes here with attack speed in his base going up a bit, which is going to be really nice with the extra auto alongside your demon bag, your little scroll buddy.
Another one of
also going to be auto attacking faster. And then demon bag, his passive is also going down in stacks, but his protections per stack are going up, so kind of similar to previous changes. He's getting more value for less stacks. Yep, so get it sooner, a couple waves sooner, honestly, which is going to be really
I don't think a lot of people realize just like how important kind of the auto attacks are for his kit, because a big part of his combo, right, is always stunning people and then just kind of like chaining those autos, especially because we made it so you have the double auto like anytime now. So I think this is like a change that really like pushes that cool part of him that like otherwise maybe was just like a bit of the back burner. I think it brings it more into the spotlight. And then with the passive change, I think that definitely makes it a lot more consistent again, especially late game.
Of course.
When if you die and you lose the stacks or whatever, right? Then
Zhong Kui's a menace in the early game. He's literally unkillable.
And like you said, it's cool taking one of those mechanics that you really want to be a spotlight mechanic, but maybe wasn't operating as one, and giving it the power to become a marquee mechanic. So that's really, really cool. So next up, we're entering the danger zone. We have Kali, and Kali can be scary to me. So
she definitely can. She fell off a lot to when she was super meta earlier.
You see a Kali buff,
in the middle of last year, I want to say was like the last time we saw her.
I have no idea.
It blows my mind how fast time goes. But you know what doesn't blow my mind is that 1 second off of incense is going to help her a little bit. Not too much, but it's going to be just enough to really feel that extra bit of control that you have as the Kali player to make some more plays.
Yeah, just to get more done. So
just a small 1 second buff.
And like you said,
of
it's
her
the small
ultimate
dude.
That's
the craziest thing about balance to me is like from the outside. Obviously, I've talked to y'all a lot. I've hung out. I've seen some of the process. But from the outside looking in, especially having gamed a lot before I joined the company and got to meet all of y'all, being like, how is it that you come up with the idea of changing something 1% or for 1 second? That's just, it seems so small to do that over and over again, to refine things like that. It always boggles my mind, So.
There are some gods where you need to like change the impression of the community or the player base to really like get them to try a new god, but there are some that are just underperforming and need a little bit of help, but they are already popular, you know what I mean? So for those characters, the smaller stuff works where they just need to have a little bit extra help stat wise, and some of them need a lot more help, like poor Xingqian. Examples.
See, you come here, you learn what's changing, and you learn the thought process. That is like, it's so cool to me. Like, I know I work here, but I don't always get to talk about this stuff. So I'm just going on a trip here. Thank you all for coming with me. So like I said, it's Valentine's Day. I got to talk to the people I love about the stuff I love. So let's keep it going. I'll stop soapboxing. We got Horace up next. Our boy needs a little love. I know.
So Horace is a very interesting
I actually didn't know he was
he's
going to buff the
warrior
nerf. I haven't
most
seen him
often
forever.
played in support, and he really is, designed to play in that
4
role. But sometimes
base
he'll shift into
health.
solo. I've seen a couple of
12
Horace
health
vids from
per
time
level.
to time, but
That's
when
crazy.
it comes to comparing Horace versus the people that he's typically laning against,
So he's
he doesn't stack out in terms of his health. We noticed that he is kind of like middle of the road, kind of higher end in terms of warriors, but it's just nowhere close to Guardians. So what we decided to do is to push him up a little bit closer to Guardians, especially in the HP per level.
Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of extra HP per level and a little bit extra in the early game. So as he's getting towards that late game, he's going to have a lot more extra health when it comes to his just base health pool that he's going to be working with.
It's a decent amount of HP.
But
I mean, 12 per
on
level,
top of that,
you know.
Resolute is his passive. A lot of people don't even realize that this heals you once your passive stacks wear off. And so this number was actually very, very small previously because it was only 1 as a base. You were healing for 1 plus a certain amount per level.
Yeah.
Per stack on your passive. And so it was not very much. It was like
negligible.
Yeah.
10 health,
very
you know?
tiny.
And I'm like, healing 10 health in this economy? No.
In this economy?
That's not how it's going to be anymore. He's going to be healing a base of 4 per stack plus 0.8 per level. And all of this is per stack as well. So if you have a lot of stacks, if you've been getting hit a lot, or hit by set a lot specifically, then you'll be healing quite a lot more, which is going to feel very, very nice for him to have that extra bit of sustain.
They're not like giving him like more damage on his 2 or more shred
so
or
next
something.
up, the buff boy,
we'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah, so you would have thought Hercules would have been really loving a lot of the hybrid kind of shifts that we did coming into 11-1, and he just hasn't really kept up, and a lot of that is due to how he kind of falls off towards the late game. He is very challenging in terms of positioning because a lot of people have gotten used to how to play around this character. This character is 10 plus years old at this point.
Yeah.
He has the bread and butter combo, right? And so a lot of times
okay,
players will
but
use it or they will
if I hit somebody with Earthbreaker
game, when you're hitting these,
and
feeling nice
they're at the end of the ability,
so the late game base
and it does damage, is it going to pull him every time?
Suit, but early game is going to stay exactly the same.
Got it. That was definitely one of those.
Because if it hits it and it does the damage, then it hit it, and if it hit it at the end in the pull section, then it has to pull.
Walk one step forward, and you don't get
that's how the ability
works. Anymore. I was like, genius.
That's what I'm more concerned
definitely,
about.
There's been time to learn around this. That's cool. Nemesis is up next on the docket for the buff train.
Yeah, so Nemesis is another character that is kind of in and out of the meta.
Yeah.
It really depends on who is relevant elsewhere. But as a ranked character, she just kind of falls off quite a lot. Because her ultimate is really team dependent. And also she just has not had the most help in terms of her ability to kind
of
heal
weird scaling on her
That's
ultimate
like her
that
whole
she
deal.
had.
She's got slows on slows on slows.
Yeah.
What a weird
so Retribution,
scaling.
her shield, is going to get an increase in the shield health, just a hair, just to give her a little bit more help, especially towards the early game, to be able to use the shield on a little bit more than just an ability if that happens to be the case. And then Divine Judgment is her ultimate. This is a movement speed buff for herself.
It's actually a
We're
bigger
just
buff on
out
Retribution in the early
kind
game
of progression.
than the late game.
It was kind of this weird relic.
Kind of this weird relic. Tell me about how weird that relic was. Go ahead, Lermy. Go ahead.
Of previous balance where it was 10, 10, 15, 15, 20. We're just moving it. It won't change at the ranks that it changed before, but the ranks where it was secondarily upgraded and you got nothing for it, you'll at least get a little bit of something.
Yeah, a nudge slightly higher. That makes sense. You gotta love seeing those curves smoothed out a little bit, because like you said, it'll make it feel a little more like a natural progression.
Yeah, exactly.
Last but not least, we have come to the final of the gods for buffs, and we have Chiron on here with a little giddy up.
Yeah, so Chiron's a very interesting god, right? Because he has been seeing an amount of success in mid, but even beyond that, he isn't super applicable to a lot of different levels of play. It's mostly just the people that are willing to jump into the fray and be willing to kind of dive in. So a lot of the people that are playing him now are trying to do him in Hunter, not super successful over in the dual lane.
Yeah.
And his stats are suffering because of that. So this is going to be a small buff in terms of the actual damage of the charge itself. So, those players that do want to get active and get in there are going to be doing it a little bit better, right? A little bit more damage if you're actually hitting things or you're clearing with it, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
A lot of times you aren't full committing though as the Chiron and actually running over people.
Hunter,
but when you do have to use this as an escape, it's going to be a lot nicer because it's 70 mana at all ranks instead of 70 up to 90, which 90 is like almost the cost of a lot of ultimates, which is kind of crazy for a dash. So we're just bringing that down to 70. But yeah, he's a character that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, especially alongside the Titan's Bane buffs. Like those kind of go hand in hand. Chiron is can be an ability-based hunter as well.
Sure.
So we want to keep a close eye and make sure that he's not doing too well over mid and just hunters in general, especially in that ability-based style.
Well, cool. And like that, we've talked about a lot of items and gods, and we've come to the end of it. So again, as I love to say, we have the patch notes live. Go check those out if you missed anything, you need some clarity on something, because there are plenty of good changes, some really cool spicy changes, looking at you, Serb, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure to check those out. We have some more things to talk about before we get into talking about one of the gods that we're all excited to hear more about, featured in that cool art right there. We have the cross-gen pass to talk about. So for those of y'all who missed the first update show of the year, the 11.1 update show at Worlds, battle passes
Didn't
are
we
now
talk about this
cross-gen
already?
passes. So cross-gen passes are a little
No,
shorter,
this
a little
is for
easier
the
to work
battle
through,
pass.
but they're showing
The
up
other
every
thing
single
was the
update. You will see a new
24
one of these
skin
with every
dealio.
update. That's
This is
once
a
a month.
battle
That's
pass.
like
Never
12 a year. That's a lot of passes.
There's a lot of events
And as
this
the name
year.
would suggest, each
There's a lot of
cross-gen pass
things.
contains cross-gen content. So the skins in those passes you will have in Smite 2 if you earn them in Smite 1. It's just how it works. And to continue talking about legacy gems, like I said earlier, cross-gen passes cost gems to get to those premium tracks, and the gems are going to go towards your legacy gem, like
Pay
stack
attention.
for
I know.
Smite
I
2
know.
or Mountain for some of y'all if you're like me. So definitely worth picking up, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Not only are there the skins, and again, if it's a cross-gen skin, it's a confirmation for a god in Smite 2. It's like a bunch of little teasers every time we do an update, which I love. But there's also all kinds of cool stuff within the pass, such as a 50% off coupon for a chest. And it's not a chest, it's just any chest. You have 50% off. So that Hades skin that we talked about earlier, complete the battles pass, get the 50% off coupon, roll that
Hypothetically,
chest,
if
and get
we
the new
have
Hades skin.
all of
So
this
a lot of cool
chest
stuff in
and
these
we have
passes,
a
and you'll be seeing a
coupon,
new
can we
one
redeem it
every single update. So really
like a
exciting.
taco?
So let's get into this particular update
Or
and
like-
start talking about the skins. Kicking it off with Gleaming Archer Hu Yi.
Anything?
Yo.
No. Okay.
Off Purple Boy.
Yeah, he is really purple.
Yeah.
Like purple is a cool color, so like I'm down.
I've
you
got
know?
Yeah.
one. I can't use that
Every
anyway.
time a purple skin shows up, I
A
get to
taco
just
syrup,
come back
sure.
here and be like, yeah, it's purple. It looks great. I'm a fan of it. So absolutely great looking.
has to be from
And,
Del
I mean,
Taco?
you know,
Never
I'm
mind.
going to keep saying it.
I don't
Hu
want
Yi
it.
confirmed.
Ooh,
I do.
okay. The lighting in the card art kind of didn't do the gold justice here, but I think that this gold as well
Yeah.
on top of it, or even like rose gold, would you say?
I agree. I'm a
Ooh,
big rose
I
gold
kind of
fan.
love this combo, but yeah, that card art was sick. But this, I don't know, dude. This is very, very close to being just as sick.
I agree. And you want to see something else that's very sick? How about this in Smite 2? Let's check out the render.
Okay.
Oh,
Better.
I love the
Lighting,
image.
dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
That bowstring is really sick.
It is so
Bowstring is so
sick.
cool.
That's so cool. And even the arrows have a nice little glow to them too. I
Yeah.
mean, he just looks so modern. You know what I mean? Like it really feels like a character that you'd be playing in some kind of, crazy futuristic game.
I think
Yeah.
just the dynamic range is sick, right? Like you see how dark kind of the foot is in the back compared to like how bright the bowstring is. Like I
Yeah.
just love that dynamic range.
I mean, again, since the early Smite 2 inception, when they were sending screenshots to
What's
the
with the
company, you know,
feet?
like
You
people,
would've looked
it
at the
wasn't,
feet
it was
first,
still a work
wouldn't
in
you?
progress, and they were like, hey, here's
make
just
me
what
sick.
On Her looks like, or Shock looks like the base skins early on were already so incredible. To continue to see them flush out how the lighting's going to work and all this with every one of these renders, I mean, like it's a roller coaster for every single one. And the roller coaster's not quite done yet. We have one more to show off, and that's Gleaming Defender Ares.
Okay. All right.
All right.
It's pretty sick. You said gleaming?
Gleaming.
And-
Ares
they
will
said
be in
that.
Smite
Yeah.
too. Okay.
They said, "Oh, we can make it gleam
Last
eye
can
for
play
sure."
now.
Yeah, it looks absolutely
Now Last
incredible.
can play.
Again, just I'm getting to this point where every time I see it, I'm like, all right, it already looks good in Smite 1, as you can see here.
They've got
Oh, wait,
Ares
his
and
skin
Bacchus
is
in
like
Smite too.
element- he's like an
Last's
elemental.
entire
Yeah,
support
that's
god
a
pool
that's
is
a
like
boy of
ready
energy.
to
That's a
go.
boy of
It's ready to
green.
go.
Bro, that's crazy. The sword's
Yeah.
sick. The little halo sick. I mean, Ares has wings,
Yeah,
which is
I was
also
gonna say those
wild.
big old
I was gonna
incredible
say
wings.
the wings are crazy, right? I think the shield might be crazier. That little like hole in the shield is just
Yeah.
so cool with a little face motif too, and that's gonna breathe fire, right? So that,
Oh, you know it
that's
will.
even
Super
cooler.
well done.
And you want to know where else it looks pretty cool? In the Smite 2 render, let's get over there. Oh, bro,
All right.
And that dynamic range.
the dynamic range, like just. The sheen of the shiny of the metal, because I
The
don't know what
Charlie
words look
Sheen
like.
of it all
No,
really,
there's a lot of light, right?
really
Yeah.
gets
So
me
making,
going.
making sure that
you
that
know?
like difference in terms of the brightest brights and those darker even brights, it feels really, really clean altogether in this solid package. I think this is going to be a really sick skin, man.
I agree, and I mean, you're not even seeing
really
the
see the
particle
tiger
effects
blood.
and all of the different effects and the way it reflects in the world.
A fire?
The
in Smite
fire.
2?
So we'll get there soon enough. Last comment before we see it in game is I like how his sword is like a sword within a bigger sword. You know, it has that
Yeah.
hollow glowing area. So he's so ready. He's got two swords in one sword. Let's check this out in Smite 1. in Smite 1.
It's
Smite
not
2
really
later.
about the
I know you
size
want it.
of the sword, though. It's
Ooh,
about how
okay.
you use it, right?
Dude, I love the way those wings move too. Like,
Yeah, the extra animation for them looks really, really good.
Super smooth.
well, and they look like, despite being metal and ethereal, they look so flowy. Like, they still have that really natural movement.
Oh,
to them.
dude.
I love
the
the
particle
two.
on that too is actually really sick.
Yeah, wow. The like wispy light off the edges.
I like the little like rainbow little flickers you get in there from time to time.
Yeah.
This feels really sick. Boom.
And you see, attention to detail. You use
I'm
the
gonna
ult,
be
he's
honest
up
with
in
you
the air.
guys.
What does somebody with wings do? Fly.
It's hard
Got
for
the
me to
wings
get
flapping
excited
back
about
there.
Smite
Animation
1
is super
skins
sick.
and
I
stuff
agree.
after having played a
the
little of
attention to
Smite
detail
2.
is incredible on all of these.
After
Okay,
having
you're right. I
played
see
a
the
little of
rainbow
it,
was,
like,
Yeah, you
wisp
see the
you
little
were talking
rainbow?
about.
Yeah.
And when you
This
freeze
is just
too,
not
you can see it pop
exciting
up.
comparably.
Oh, really? Okay,
you know?
that's so awesome.
It's just
It's
not.
really beautiful.
Yeah.
Our team knocked it out of the park with this one.
When don't they? You know?
Well, that's true as well.
They have to stop knocking things out of the park because soon there's nothing left in the park. We're going to have to move the park. So, absolutely awesome. And again, both of these are part of the cross-gen pass, which we are excited about. Gleaming Valor, would you imagine, with how shiny they were? Gleaming Valor is the name of the cross-gen pass. So you can check that out along with all the other stuff we've shown off with the release of 11.2.
I spoiled dinner
So
by
we talked
eating
about a lot of
dessert,
things.
pretty much.
Talked about a lot of cool things.
Pretty much.
And we're finally here. We're finally talking about Newt.
Yes.
But of course, before we get there,
Dandy's
we want
ready
y'all
to
see
nut
this little
every-
video first. So we'll be right
Never mind.
back.
I'm finally here.
Better be super cool, though.
I pray I am not too late. We once lived in harmony, grandfather, but I will not stand for this. Now you see me? Behold the starry night.
You can't tell me she doesn't look like a mage, though. I mean, supposedly she's a hunter, but you can't tell me she doesn't
From the
vibe
heavens.
a mage.
Oh, my darling, if only every soul could be saved. I am the sky itself. Crumble to stardust. I've spent eons watching this realm. It's time for me to take action as well.
We'll see. Maybe she's a mage hunter
Yeah, so
or a mage
excited.
ADC. but
It's been a long
I feel
time
like they said
coming. It's
she's
been a long
literally
time
hunter,
community
but-
request. And I'm super pumped to be here today talking about Newt and her arrival on the battleground in like 6 days. But before we do that, I'm going to welcome some new faces onto the set here. Lermy's been hanging out with us already, but we
Well,
have
let's
Titan
find out.
GGGG coming with us today as well. Senior gameplay programmer. How you doing?
Pretty good. Nervous.
Nervous? No, don't be.
Well, the last time I was here, I was talking about Set when he first came out.
It's been a minute.
It's related though, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the next time you guys have an Egyptian god, just bring me back. I
Yeah,
guess.
we'll reel you right back in.
Perfect.
So another person I'd like to welcome is chilling in the back here. We have J-Mac, which a lot of y'all already know. Most of y'all should know at this point. J-Mac, a staple of what makes Smite incredible, especially on the esports side. But here today, welcoming him not only as a driver for Newt to help us see her in game, but also as a member of the community team, kicking it with myself and Titan Isaiah. So welcome to the community team, part of the family. So I know you're gonna do a bunch of incredible work. So all right, I could talk about that all day because I love talking about the people I work with, but we have Newt to talk about. And it's been a long time coming, bringing Lore Lady into the game as a playable character who's been working with us for so many years. Like, talk me through the process of landing here. What got us to Newt and Smite?
It's just such an honor, you know, to be working with 11 plus years of history at this point of Smite and making a character that is so beloved by the community. I mean, at first, we weren't even sure what we were going to do, right? We wanted to make sure that year 11 began with a bang, you know what I mean? So initially, we were like, okay, we need a hunter character.
So it is going to be a
Who
hunter.
can be our hunter?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the community was like,
That's what they
okay,
said.
well, you know,
Just
a lot of the
looks
characters
so
we've been requesting,
magey.
one of the top ones has been Newt.
Looks
Yeah.
so
And so
magey.
we were thinking about it. Okay, so we did a little bit of research. Who is Newt to begin with, right?
Yeah, what's the
She
story?
is, excuse me, the Egyptian goddess of the sky. And so that I don't know where my voice is going.
It's the emotions from all
Yeah,
of
all the
working on
emotions.
Newt, Yeah.
It's reuniting Gab with her.
Yeah.
I know it's such a magical
On this day of love.
Move away.
Valentine's Day miracle.
It is.
Afro,
I
Afro and
missed it.
Susano.
Yeah.
It's Newt and Geb's time.
Wow.
But to
All
get
right.
back to it here. a
Yeah,
little
to
bit.
dive back in.
Newt is the goddess of the sky in the Egyptian mythology. She is the wife of Geb, the granddaughter of Ron. She is also the mother of Set, Iset, Osiris, and Horus, and also Nephthys. But
What a
she's-
big bringing the family back
I
together.
mean, speaking of a big family,
Yeah.
every star in the sky is said to be her child. And every soul in the universe she protects as well whenever they reach their
What a
untimely
lineage.
end or timely end, depending on the situation.
Holidays
she,
must be
she
wild.
is the barrier
Talk about a
kind of
dysfunctional
between
family,
the
yeah.
mortal realm and the chaos of the space beyond the sky. So she will essentially catch the souls of the deceased as they fly up and away into the sky
Yeah.
and guide them to a happy afterlife. And she actually did that for Osiris when he met an unfortunate end due to a lot of circumstances and then
Yeah.
was brought back. So she was a big part of that story as
Wait,
well. And
she's
also
the one
is
that
reason
brought him
that
back
the sun
without-
travels through the sky. She is basically the
Won't even get
basin
into it.
with which
Good to
Ra,
know.
the sun, will
I know
travel
everything I
across
need to
and
know.
then kind of transfer into night and then come back out in the day and begin again. So she's the whole reason that day and night happens. So
Well, you
she's
weren't
not
kidding
only-
when you said you really looked into all the lore, huh?
There's a lot of
That
it.
is a lot.
She does a lot of things. She's very, very important in the Egyptian mythos. She is kind of one of the OGs, you might say.
Yeah, one of the
Well, I know
originals. Got it.
Iset
And
fixed
she
the
also,
missing
of
part,
course,
if you
is,
know what I mean.
You know, the partner to
I know that
one
much.
of our longtime
Yeah.
guardians supports Geb. So that is very, very exciting to come through. So Newt was requested, right? So that's about Newt. But why Lore Lady as well? Well, when we thought about, how Lore Lady was portrayed and kind of the role that the Lore Lady played, she kind of was this observer for a very long time. And she would know so much about the realm of the mortals, but she wouldn't really ever take part in it. And then when it went back to how we actually depicted her artistically, it all just started to click into place, right?
Yeah.
She's this beautiful cosmic woman, and we were like, that it just makes sense. It just comes together,
It'll
right?
all come together right now.
Where Newt is goddess of the sky, she has a lot of elements of the starry night, and especially that kind of motherly nature that when it comes to her relationship within the Egyptian pantheon and just to all of the souls in the universe, like just that iconic presence perfectly aligns, especially thanks to the wonderful voice acting of our dedicated lore lady.
Yeah.
For 12 years now, can you believe that?
It's
For
been
12
crazy.
years?
And for any of you at Worlds, we got to spend some time working with her. A lot of y'all got to meet her. Suhaila, absolutely incredible
She's so
person.
wonderful.
Like, I kid you not, as we were getting ready for Worlds, I worked very closely with her for the meet and greets. Every time I said, hey, we might have to change this, or things might work this way, or I was asking, like, is there anything I need to do for you to make you prepared for this? She was just the easiest person in the world to work with. Every time I was like, hey, I'm sorry, last minute change, we have to shift this or do that. She's like, no problem. Like, do I need to help? Are you good? Like, I don't know. It felt like we were just having fun and playing. Like there was no stress, no whatever. It was
she was just so excited to be there, and I know that she has so much appreciation for the fans and the community. So I mean, thank you guys especially.
Oh, for sure.
For allowing us to keep with this partnership with her, because everyone just loves her. She's so wonderful.
Yeah, and for those of you who did get to meet her, I know that it meant the world to her as much as it did to y'all and as much as it did to us. So it really was a special occasion. So anyway, I guess let's move forward. You want to see Newt in game? J-Mac, you ready to go in game?
Newt stoof.
There you go. All right, well let's dive right in. Let's check out Newt.
There she
is.
Yep,
she really just does
Hunt Riders
embody
for
that,
sure.
like, goddess vibe.
Yeah.
And she's very tall as well. And as you'll notice here, she is standing on a bit of a platform. And unfortunately for her, part of her lore was that she was unfortunately separated from her poor husband Geb. So she is not allowed to touch the earth, as a good kind of nod to that, even despite how sad it is. I'm sorry, it's Valentine's Day, but even today of all days, she's not allowed to.
But hey, there's still love conquers all, and they've kept going through it, so it's still beautiful and romantic. So
it finds a way.
It does find a way.
Finds a way.
And it'll find its way to the
That is,
dueling
in
because
fact,
she's
a
hunted.
large
Awesome.
passive
Well, let's
thing.
get a preview of these abilities.
Yeah,
so
show us,
J-Mac,
Large
show us the
passive
full,
thing.
beautiful display of heavenly power.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
That's a nuke and a half.
Yeah.
All right. There's
There's a lot of stuff going on.
So many beautiful things happening here. For one, they look amazing. So let's just get that out of the way. Well, I'll say that 100 more times. But I guess let's get into it. So first of all, you got to start with the symbols. Got to start with the basic attacks.
The
So she has these
nukes and the
cool astral
jukes,
basic
baby.
attacks, it looks like.
Yeah, so she is a hunter, right? So she'll be doing physical damage,
Yeah.
and she is going to be based a lot around basic attacks
Okay.
in terms of just how she is as a class. But they are rather beautiful.
Oh,
she
they really
will
are.
be pulling out of this wonderful water pot that she has, and she is typically described as having this water pot like as her main symbol because it does kind of go in tandem being an icon of motherhood or the womb.
Yeah.
So it goes very, very closely with a lot of her themes.
Okay.
So we thought, what better way than to kind of pull these little starry objects, kind of like a quiver, out and then just throw them out. It is a very, very beautiful and elegant solution for her.
Yeah. Well, and as a fan of the motif of space as an aesthetic, the trail of that auto attack is probably now among, if not my favorite, like auto attack trail in the game. That is so gorgeous looking.
Very
So I'm a big.
It feels like ethereal water.
It does feel like ethereal water. You're right. All right. Anyway, I could stare at that all day, but let's move on to the passive. The passive is called Flux.
Looks cool,
What
at
does
least.
Flux do?
So this is going to be basically kind of a soft stim, right?
Yeah.
A lot of hunters will have a
an
stim in their
ability.
kit.
She
She has a
gains a
different kind of stim that we'll get to in a
attacking
second.
buff.
But
Okay.
how this works is that each time she hits an enemy god with a damaging ability, this is damage as well. So you
Max
have to actually do
Axe
damage to
10.
them.
Gotta
to
hit
make this
them.
work.
Got it.
You get a stacking attack speed buff. You can have up to 10 stacks because you can trigger
40% at
multiple
level 20?
stacks
Is
from
that
a
the
single
math?
ability, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
Okay.
essentially, hit enemy gods with your abilities, and you will get attack speed.
Got it. I can get behind that. So now we're moving in to her first ability called Convergence.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the stim that I was mentioning.
Okay.
If you could just toggle it on for us here, JMac, that would be appreciated. So as you can see here, she gets these two kind of little orbs beside her.
Yeah.
And so you'll also notice that she has these awesome, this awesome back piece of these orbs as well. So what's happening is she's firing at 3 shots at the same time, and they're all converging into a single point. You can see how we got the
I
name.
get it.
And so how this is working is that she is shooting out, again, those 3 projectiles.
Yeah.
The center one functions as close to a basic attack as possible. So it still procs crits, it still
Okay.
procs basic attack items, it does all of that wonderful stuff.
Got it.
And the side projectiles do ability damage and proc ability items, etc.
That's kind of cool.
So it's a very fun little mix, and depending on how accurate you are with these shots, you'll get a combination of the damage as well as, the combination of effects, which is
Cool.
very unique
Procs
for a lot of hunters.
abilities
They don't have that.
and
similar
auto
way to do
attack
it.
items.
The other important thing to note is that
Cool.
this passes through enemies and
Okay.
minions,
It's piercing.
but it doesn't pass through walls. So you can shoot these at a wall, but they will get stopped. So a good way to,
That's
be
strong.
careful with Newt is that you want to make sure that you're shooting directly at him and not into a wall.
Yeah,
That's
fair enough.
strong.
Nothing like being like, I got him, and then it just splashes off the wall, and you're like, oh, I don't
True
got him.
autos
Yeah,
are
there's a couple more
strong.
pieces to this ability. I know it's kind of crazy.
Okay, keep going, please.
But as you can see with her passive meter, we've got these 4 orbs that will kind of appear off
Sure
and on
do.
her back.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of to indicate how many attacks you will get at any given point using this one, because it's not a single stack amount that you get for the amount of times they can shoot. You always get one.
It's kind of like ammo, extra
Yeah.
ammo, bonus
Okay.
shots.
Extra
Got
ammo.
it.
You do get bonus
Okay.
shots. So you always get one for free, no matter when you use this.
Yeah.
And then you can also get up to 4 extra shots, which are those little orbs that you see on her back.
Okay, cool.
So as you shoot, you'll see that they start to disappear, and that
Yeah.
will tell you how many that you have left. So at the end of this, you will have no more. But actually, wait, they're coming back. So how you actually get these orbs is that you have to basic attack things.
Okay.
It gets a little complicated, which I understand.
I can see those, the glowing stars
Yeah.
underneath the orbs there.
So
yeah.
the easiest way to track this is in the passive meter. When you hit an enemy god, you get 2 stacks. When you hit a minion, you get 1 stack.
Okay.
So each extra ammo requires 4 stacks. To get all 4 extra ammos, you need 16 stacks. So 16
Yeah.
basic attacks on minions.
That's
or
Rama-
8 on gods,
Rama
or whatever
arrow-ish.
combination of the in-betweens.
Yeah.
To get all of them. And the extra other cool part is that because the center basic attack, or part of that ability, functions as a basic attack, you also
Get stacks while
get
using the
stacks
ability.
back for that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you'll see here that if you were to use that
Stacks on
full
stacks on
extension,
stacks,
you will
baby.
still get those extra stacks back.
Yeah.
And when you're
Stacks
done,
on
you have more
stacks
ready
on
to go.
stacks.
That's
and you're
really
probably
cool.
wondering, it's going to be on cooldown. So how am I going to use? Why am I getting these stacks now? I can just wait for the cooldown to be done. We'll get to that in a second, but just
wait,
keep
there's
that in
more.
the back of your mind, because we'll get there.
Okay, the back of my mind is already pretty full. So
Throw in a set of
I
steak
got one more
knives.
for you.
Okay.
You don't have to use all of them in one go.
Oh, true.
You can keep some in your back pocket.
Really, you can throw a few out and then just cancel and
Yep.
back in the. Okay.
Yeah, so when you cancel this ability, it puts it on cooldown, but you actually refund all the ammo that you have not used yet. So if you never shot out your 3rd or 4th stack, you'll get them back, and you'll be good to go and be able to use them when the cooldown's up next.
My mind is too full. That's really cool. I like
This
that
is a lot of
That's only one
information
ability. We still have
regarding
more to
the
talk
one.
about.
The rest, I promise, are a little more simple.
That's fine. I like it that way. So this is super cool.
She's got
This is their
extended
second ability,
mags.
Crashing Comet.
Yeah, so as you can see, when J-Mac throws this ability out, she's going to call down a comet from the sky, and it crashes down on the enemies
Yeah,
below.
get wrecked,
Yeah.
Odin.
So it does damage, obviously, but you know, getting hit by a meteor would hurt, and it also would send out a ripple around where it hits. So as you can see, there's 2 areas in the ability here. The center one roots, the outer one trembles, and we're gonna lose Odin. He's gonna walk away.
Yeah, he's like, that was uncomfortable. I gotta go.
We'll get another Odin back to continue to be our test dummy here,
Yeah.
but essentially,
Bye, Odin.
depending on how accurately you hit this, you get a little bit more CC and a little bit extra damage on top of that.
Yeah.
So this also counts towards flux again, because if
Okay.
you're hitting
It's a
the
root.
center, you're getting 2 stacks. It's gonna feel great to get more extra stacks of that ability. So you get 2 stacks of flux because you've hit him twice. Double damage, double stacks of flux.
Yeah, more attack speed. All right, well that's super cool. Also going to be really fun to use in team fights because one person's hurting,
Alright,
the
so
rest of
she's
people are
gonna
like,
root me
"Whoa."
and then
That's
throw
unique CC for
just
Yeah,
a lot of
very
balls
unique.
in my face.
And very pretty. I mean, again,
Very
space
quickly
aesthetic.
with
So
her
we're on to the
increased
third
attack
ability now.
speed.
Warp.
This
You
one
can
might be one of the most fun movement abilities that we've put into the game in a long time.
Yeah.
This is an 8-way
Oh
teleport.
no, not another
So depending on whichever
omnidirectional.
direction
You know what
that
that
you're moving,
means.
You will teleport 15
You know what
units
that
in that
means.
direction pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
you might say, oh my god.
You're
what
gonna
have I
yeet
done?
yourself for it on
You
accident
put a
at
blink
some
in the
What, a
point.
blink?
15 units is really not that far. So what
Yeah.
this is designed for is to kind of have a juke ability. Let's say like Scylla drops a crush on your feet. You go, uh-oh, push my 3 in whatever direction, and I'm out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry
Can't
about
catch me.
Beyond comprehension.
And the other great part about this ability has several. You might be wondering, well, okay, what's this extra circle around there? If there are enemies within the range of this circle, you will also spawn these projectiles.
Killing
that
somebody
hone
with that is
into
gonna be BM as
whoever
hell.
is the closest god. There's 3 of them, and they slow as well.
Okay.
So they will spread out depending on how many gods are in that circle, and then the slow will also stack up. If they get hit by multiple, it will prioritize gods and then minions, and it will only go to 3. If there are more than 3, it will pick the closest 3.
Okay, cool. So you're saying that if there are 3 people, though, each one of those will hone to its own different...
Yep, exactly.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Every combination, if there's 2, one person's gonna get hit twice, one person furthest away is gonna get hit once.
How do y'all come up with
you
this
try
stuff?
to
mean,
try to hit her.
I
She
like that you
goes,
called it a-
He
Nope, now
made
you're
it.
slow.
I like
Then
it.
boom, now you're rooted. And then blah, blah,
I
blah,
like you called it
blah.
a juke, by the way, when while I can see it being used as that, I can also see that as a, you aren't running from me, I am going to blink you down. So,
Exactly. It's a little hard to chase with
Okay.
it just because it's so short, but if you really are playing aggressive and playing off a crashing comet as well, you can do a pretty solid combo.
Yeah.
Because that's not the only thing this ability does. Remember when I said to keep in the back of your mind while you were still getting stats on your 1?
oh, I have to dig in the back of my mind, there's so much, but
Well, it's
yes.
back up in front now because when you use this ability, it also resets the cooldown of convergence. So let's say you've used your convergence, you've gotten a few extra stacks back, and now you want to use it again.
Yeah.
Well, allow me to just use convergence, and it's back.
Huh.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. That's really cool. I can already see
Why
you
not?
teleport across the map, you blink in, you convergence, blink into
Why
the
not?
fight, convergence again. The combos are limitless.
Yeah, the combo tends to be very much surrounded around this reset of the cooldown. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see how players are able to manipulate the number of stacks that they get on convergence and how they use warp and jumping in and out of fights. It's going to feel really, really cool to,
Well, I mean,
to play around.
This
Yeah,
is
and what
just a
J-Mac just
mage.
did there is
I
just so
told
threatening
you
looking, 'cause you have this
that
really
she's a
wide
mage.
ability basic attack.
I told
and then
you.
blink, you're slowing
It's a
people,
hunter,
you get to
except for the
recast
part
that,
where
you get
it's
to
a
reuse it.
mage.
It's just such a visual.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm visually in awe of how cool that looked because it's just what a threatening thing to see.
It's a lot of orbs.
Yeah, it's a lot of orbs. Newt, she brought the orbs, dude.
Yeah, I mean, all of the stars are her children, right? So she's got to be calling up on them for a little bit of help every now and then. You know what I mean? But that's not even the biggest star that we've yet.
That's not even the biggest of the orbs. Well, then let's get right to it. We have her ultimate, Skyfall.
So yeah, Noob's
That's
the
a
sky.
wild
So she goes up
camera
into the
angle.
sky. When she's up there, she's able to move around and aim a little bit, but she's got this giant black
Okay.
hole that she's charging up. Because
Yeah.
the other thing about space is that space is beautiful, but it can also be deadly.
That's true.
And one thing that black holes are known to do is that they will pull in anything that's nearby. So if you get hit by a black hole, imagine you're getting pulled back into that center there. So you'll see that targeter has 2 different circles. The inner circle does the majority of the damage, and then after a short delay, that outer circle is the area that pulls people.
Okay.
So that also does a small amount of damage, but it's balanced around, the pull is very powerful back to the center. You want to make sure that damage is a lot less than if you're hitting it dead on.
Yeah, of course. Man, well, here's a fun science lesson I
Can
could
they
be
stop
completely incorrect
releasing
on, and I'm
such
sure if I
stupid
am,
broken
people will tell
gods?
me.
What if I
But I'm
told
pretty
you
sure
that
when you
this
get
was
sucked
the
into a
last
black hole,
broken
you
god
get, like,
ever
stretched
getting
out or
released?
whatever, because crazy gravity. Pretty sure they call that
What if I told you your
spaghettification.
wish just came
Oh,
true?
I've heard of that.
You have? Okay, cool. So that's how spaghetti was invented. They were out in space, and they dropped some wheat noodles into a black hole, and next thing you know. So
This ability was very fun to
cool
tinker with,
looking.
right? Especially, I don't know if we're on restricted camera pitch here, but if we can alt and go unrestricted and take a little gander at the sky. Very quickly. I know I'm asking quite a lot here. I apologize. I'm pretty sure it's in controls. Yeah, there it is.
I was about to
Okay, so
say.
it's on. You just got to turn that bad boy off. Beautiful. Love. We're doing a little live change.
That's what makes it fun. The live
Goes
stuff
up.
is always fun.
And you can see the whole sky is turning dark. Look at that.
Oh, that's really cool.
And then
Yeah,
turns
like
back.
whoop.
Yeah, the other very important thing to note about this ultimate is that Newt will always go back to the location that she started, and she leaves
Okay.
kind of a pillar on the ground, so enemies will know where she's firing it from. The pillar goes very high up into the sky.
Got
You can
it.
see it over walls. You can also tell that she's ulting by just looking at the sky.
Yeah.
Anywhere on the map this will happen. So we wanted to be very sure that there was a lot of counterplay to this ultimate because, again, huge team pack
playmaking
effectiveness.
ultimate.
Is there a
can
lot of
also be very
counterplay
good for self-peel, but you also need to be very careful
Is
because
there?
they're probably going to be waiting for you when you
Yeah,
come back down.
they know where you're gonna be. So
I've been bullied in many a playtest because I went
I
back
guess
down
the
to
counter
where I
is
did not
that
want to
she
be.
gets yeeted
you
back
were like,
to
I'm
where
free,
she
but
started.
you weren't free. Nope.
Yes, so combined with the small amount of movement that she has, yes, the cooldown is relatively low on that, but you're not going very far. So you can buy yourself some time to get your teammates back to you, but if people catch up to you, it's going to be a little scary. So
Yeah.
you might want to call up on Geb, a little bit of extra help there to get you out. She does need to kind of have this really big positioning focus to be in exactly kind of like that sweet spot
Yeah.
for convergence and with her warp as
Yeah,
well.
she can
So all
use
these
it as
things
an
combined,
escape
if
the
you
same
really are
way
a
that
master
like
of
Rama
positioning, you're
can
going
use
to do
his
very,
ult, which
very
is
well
like
with it.
go in the air and chill. You know.
We've just seen the way that people
Wait for people to get
have,
to you.
have learned through
But
this
it
community.
also-
Like people pick her up and
Codes with
PTS, and it'll be
CC,
rough.
so-
And then live, and it'll be not so rough. And then a month into live, and we're gonna be seeing some plays that are just unimaginably crazy. So like again, it's cool seeing a new kit with so much possibility like this because playtests have discovered so many things, and then you pass it out to the entire world at large, the community at large, and just the stuff that y'all figure out is unbelievable.
And I mean,
so.
we can even talk a little bit on the tech side as well, just like all of the really
Jeez.
cool things that had to go into this, whether that comes to like the skybox or even just like configuring that ultimate. Like I'm sure you can talk a bit onto that.
I can try.
Please.
Honestly, it was a lot of turning things on and off. Just like setting things to true, setting things to false. Surprisingly, programming, if you know what you're doing, not that hard,
Yeah, this
but you
guy's
gotta
a hero.
know what you're doing.
I was about to say, see, that's the thing, because I technically spent a chunk of my life programming, and to me it was always very hard because that's the struggle, is figuring out what you're doing. So like it's astounding that you can say that, because from my level you
You're
could
really
be like, oh yeah,
confused as
just
to
go
why
turn
this
that
isn't
off,
an
and it would take
auto-attack
me
mid.
15
I mean, it
hours
is,
of
for
Googling to be like,
sure.
oh, it's a slider in
sure.
this menu, got it.
It's
I mean, I
really
guess
about the
whatever, who
communication end.
cares,
A lot
but-
of- a lot of times, like we'll have the idea in mind.
It
or
is
even, people
definitely
will
a
approach
mage kit
either of us really with
that has
ideas on
been
how to improve
seemingly
abilities, and we
arbitrarily
go, okay,
labeled
well, How do we
hunter,
actually make
but
this work, and how do we translate
whatever.
it? What do all of those like side cases look like? Are there really like small chances? What happens
Yeah.
if you die during this ability? There were a lot of those that were very funny. We made a kind of funny joke out of a bug that we had where when Nuke goes in the sky, she has the black orb in her hand,
Yeah.
the black hole. At a point, you were not ever losing the black hole, and it was staying in your hand. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm carrying around my basketball with me. It's just kind
Yeah.
of hanging out.
I made it sound a lot easier than it was. One of my favorite bugs during development was during the ult, she could just, I don't know how it happened, she could just permanently juggle someone for like 5 seconds and like
yeah, I do
fling them
remember that.
higher and higher. At one point, someone got like an Odin in jungle practice on top of one of the walls.
That's
So-
crazy.
There were some very funny interactions with the momentum,
Yeah.
physics-based movement going on in the Ultimate.
Maybe,
so we had to make sure
maybe it's a shout out to Smite 2. In Smite 2, you can build whatever you want on whoever you
Honestly, that's one of
want.
my
So
favorite
this
part
is
of
the
working
first mage that
so
you
close
can
to
build
this
with
game is sometimes
physicals
a bug will
items
pop up,
in Smite.
and it usually lasts like a day or whatever.
Think
Like,
about
y'all
it.
figure stuff out really quick because y'all are super good at iterating, but some of them are
getting you
so
ready,
funny
you know?
to hear
Getting you
about.
ready.
Like it's they're just little nuggets that stay with me forever. So, well, super cool. So, again, this is Newt. A lot of cool stuff to look forward to. Of course, the skin will launch next week, 6 days from now, with the usual skins that you're used to seeing. So we're gonna start off with her first skin, your standard recolor here. We have the card art for it. Really, really cool looking.
I just can't believe how amazing this card art turned out.
Yeah, this is the normal card art, by the way.
Yeah, this is her
To
standard.
start off, yeah, this is just.
It's
the
gonna be
standard
hard to
card
top
art.
this. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's a high bar.
It is high bar. I mean, when aren't the people around here setting high bars? Like,
I mean, they just took like everything about her lore and really ran with it. Like she is watching over with this gentle gaze, and when she's talked about as being the sky itself, they say that each of her appendages reaches from end to end of the earth, and
Yeah.
she touches them all, and she really is just reaching out, waiting for the souls to come straight to her hand.
yeah, that's so cool. All right, so let's check out the next card art. Her, the standard recolor, the launch recolor, very pretty looking.
So beautiful. This is a very cool purple. I love
Yeah.
as well because we're kind of staying in the spacey theme. But
What
going
makes a
kind of,
very
like,
cool
inverted a
purple
little bit, where
compared
here
to a
previously was a lot of
lame
blue and
purple?
purples, and we're swapping it up where it's a lot more
Where-
light
where's
for
the
her hair
line?
and a lot more dark for her clothes, which I love. I think it looks amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I called this out while we were looking at the model live in game, but her hair is just miraculous to look
It
Oh,
at.
really
it's so
is.
cool. They
Quack,
did a
quack,
great
quack.
job.
Yeah, it's magnificent work of our teams to make her hair as just, I don't know, it's space
Flowy
itself. Yeah,
and spacey.
It's one of the reasons I fell in love with Atlas, because he has kind of some space hair, but Newt's space hair is next level.
Yeah.
So
I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I'm pretty sure it's new-ish tech. I think it's a new combination of technologies we've done.
like you said, with the raising the bar, we've gotten to the point where the bar is so high that our teams are pole vaulting for every new bar, and they're still hitting it every time.
Yeah, I mean, there was
so.
lots of new tech that went into just her visuals as well, especially with the
tech.
flowing capes. I mean, and you could just see how beautiful they turned out. Even
Oh,
the
yeah.
artwork itself, the flowing being impacted by which direction that you're moving and just transitioning through those animations just so much smoother. It's gorgeous.
Shout out to the art team.
Shout
Wow.
out to the art team.
Gorgeous.
All right, so next up we have her
Designers
Ascended
make it
skin. We have the
work.
card art for that here as well.
I just love it. It's
Dude,
so
it's
beautiful.
got the pink.
It's pink.
It's pink.
It's
I
pink.
love too though how you still have that border of space, like
Yeah.
in the depth of her hair or in the crevices and like the flowy cloak, or I guess I don't know what you call those cloaks. Looks like a scarf a little bit, a tassel. I don't know what the word is because I don't know clothes very well. But just I love how you have space chiseled into all of those different spots, and like it's just unmistakably like that is still Newt.
Yeah, it's just such a gorgeous combo of colors and perfect for the occasion, right?
I mean,
We keep going
true,
back to it,
That
but it just
romantic
works out every time.
Valentine's. Way to bring it back. Now, you can't not look at the masteries too. You got to see
Oh, we got
the way the masteries look. So let's check those out.
It's just so epic.
The gold.
We've been seeing a lot of Newt when she's nice.
Yeah.
Newt's not always nice. She's gotta put on the bad cop role sometimes when her children are acting up. She's
Yeah.
gotta put them in timeout, and maybe sometimes that timeout will be sending you to the grayscale screen. So prepare for that.
Little gray screen simulator. Just a hair. Man, when your kids are acting up and your kids are the stars, how do you even deal with that?
You gotta ask Newt, man. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's a testament to her power because I wouldn't know how to deal. I don't know how to deal with it when my pet rat acts up. I'm like, stop that, you.
can put you
let
in
alone every
timeout.
star in the galaxy. So, just another testament to her power.
I'm
I think it's the classic "Don't make me come up there" kind
That's
of
true.
line.
Do you think she has that low? Like, do you think she counts? She's like 1, and it echoes across the
yeah.
galaxy, and they're like, all right, she's at 4. We have to stop.
Yeah.
So. Whew, that is threatening. So, all right, well, cool. We've done it. We made it.
did it.
We finally get to talk
1:30.
about Newt, right?
That's so crazy.
I just, man, it's super exciting. And again, shout out to the lore lady. Like, she's just been incredible to work with in every way. Every opportunity we've had to work with her has been amazing. So Suhaila, you are incredible. I hope you get to see this, and I hope you know that we love you here. The community loves you, and you are a pillar of Smite. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I just want to thank y'all for coming out. Obviously, couple last minute announcements here at the very end. PTS should be going up soon enough. Just keep your eyes out for it. We'll let y'all know when the doors are open. Our Twitter should have all the info for you there. And the Dev Insight panel still going hard, still happening after this show. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that. You got to go talk, get your questions ready, read through those notes so that when that happens here in just a little bit, you have all of your questions in line and you can ask our amazing designers kind of what their thought process was, or, whatever you want to ask. So as we wrap here, the last thing I want to say is stick around for a special message from the lore lady herself, Suhaila. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.
Special message from lore lady.
Hello, gods and goddesses. It's me, Suhaila Elatar Young, otherwise known as the lore lady, otherwise known as, or finally known as, Newt. I am so excited about this goddess coming out and that I am finally a playable character, and I hope you guys have a blast playing Newt. After 12 years of being with High Res and being with Smite, this is the best thing ever. I mean, everything's been great. Let me everything's been awesome. But this is really awesome too. I hope you guys have so much fun. And I want to thank everybody who made this possible. Thank you.
New. Patch was fine. I mean, it was the first patch after the start of a new season, so it's usually more about like honing in things. So like small changes to like, red camp, small, like a little cooldown here, a little mana there, 5 damage here, 5 damage there. A couple of bigger changes like Jing Tian, but like on a god like Jing Tian, it really doesn't get played at all anyway. So balance-wise, pretty similar, little pros, little cons. And then you can't say that Nut doesn't look strong. You certainly can't say that. Doesn't really look like a hunter, but can't say doesn't look strong. So I imagine, depending on those base numbers and stuff, but that kit is strong. You gotta through auto attack that procs auto effects and ability effects. You've got a root and a tremble, a blink that slows, and a go in the air ultimate that knockups and sucks. So that's a lot of damage and CC and action all wrapped up into one. Plus, 40% built-in auto attack speed when you're using your abilities from your passive late game, which will, also be strong. But I think she's going to be good. When the PTS comes out, we'll probably check her out. So if the PTS is out by tomorrow, we'll probably play some PTS tomorrow. If it's not, we'll play it Friday if it comes up Friday or whatever. But
thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.